When it comes to the name of this deck, it seems to have the most backstabbing name that I've ever seen when it comes to Magic the Gathering. This deck is called Peace Offering, however, it's a Magic the Gathering deck. Just from the title alone, or the name of the deck alone, I am already considering this to be one of those, hey, I'm just here to help everyone and have a good time. Oh wait, stab, 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 I win. This seems to be the type of deck, before even looking at anything, the commander or sub-commander or anything like that, that I already know and I can already tell that this is a group hug deck that portrays you, and that is the first time I've ever seen it in the title of a deck. So in this video, I'll be going over the commander, sub-commander, and the context of the deck itself, give my thoughts and opinions at the end, and then giving it a rating and seeing if this deck is worth buying. Or, if you're interested in this deck, let me know why I'm wrong in the comments down below. But before I go any further, a word from our sponsor. The sponsor of this video is me. I have started an Etsy page where I'm going to try and be selling clothes that I've designed, thought would be funny, thought would be cool, thought would be amazing on people's bodies. So I literally spent maybe a month or two looking at different resources and stuff to come up with the nicest clothes I could possibly find, with the coolest designs that I have done myself, with stuff like playmats, hoodies, t-shirts. I'm going to try and do phone cases. They're harder than I thought, but I do think that it is a really good thing to actually put into. So if you would like to help me out or help the channel out, please go onto my Etsy. It will be linked down below, and you'll be able to find very nice clothing and also be supporting the channel. So links down below, and also if there's any other designs, I will be putting on any of my social media, so please follow me there as well. Since this is a Bloomburrow deck, it's very obvious to say that this deck is going to be filled with many cute creatures that will end up betraying you in some form of way. So I think already before even looking at this, that this is going to be a creature heavy deck with a lot of I get benefits, you get benefits, and then we'll see how it goes from there. Don't worry about it. Now, if that's true or not is a completely different thing, but it's good to kind of get a gist of when it comes to the colors and the name of the deck. So starting off with the deck, we're going to be talking about the commander, and the commander is Miss Bloomflower. For 1 green, white, and a blue, you get a legendary creature rabbit citizen that is a mythic. She has vigilance. Whenever you cast a spell, target opponent draws a card. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature. It gains flying until end of turn. If this is the second time this ability resolves this turn, you draw 2 cards and is a 1/5. So already off the bat, I am correct. Here is a card that goes, here, you get to draw a card, but I get to put a 1/1 counter on something and then give it flying till end of turn, which means I'm going to do slightly more damage, but also harder for you to block, which is really good because there's already a few cards in Bloomburrow that help with flying creatures, that if a flying creature dies, you get to return something else back, or if a flying creature dies, you get to return it back again without flying. This could potentially be an infinite loop, especially if there is an enchantment card. I'm not sure if there is one, but I assume there is cards that just give all creatures flying. So again, this deck can be absolutely broken. And then again, if you do it a second time, you get to draw 2 cards, which is really, really good, especially in a deck like this, because it seems to be you want to be having as many cards as you possibly can in your hand. But you cannot have a commander without a sub-commander, and the sub-commander of this deck is Mr. Foxglove. For 2 green, white, and a blue, you get a legendary creature, Fox Rogue, that is a mythic. He has lifelink. Whenever Mr. Foxglove attacks, draw cards equal to the number of cards in defender player's hand minus the number of cards in your hand. If you didn't draw any cards this way, you may put a creature from your hand onto the battlefield and is a 3/5. What is with this commander? This commander is absolutely brilliant. Whenever it attacks, it 1 gives you life, so you're harder to kill. 2 then lets you draw cards equal to the defending players. Plus, it has a blue pip, so you're able to make it unblockable. So again, you're doing like 3 damage, gaining 3 life, and able to draw cards equal to blank's hand, which is really good, especially with the other card. If you play it as your commander, you're like, oh, you know, you keep drawing. And then all of a sudden you're like, I have 1 card left, you have 7, cool. Play this fox down, attack, boom, hand back to 7. Plus, if that doesn't even work, you get to play something for absolutely free. This commander is absolutely bonkers. I love both of these. And this is actually, in my opinion, the first deck that the commander and the sub-commander, I don't know which one I prefer. So in the comments down below, let me know which one you would prefer and why. So now we're getting on to the context of the deck itself, starting off with the Planeswalkers. Usually when it comes to this, there's not Planeswalkers in the deck, but in this set, they've done a really cool thing where they kind of imagined past Planeswalkers as these cute little creatures, and in this deck you get Tamiyo Field Researcher. Again, it's good to see that even though Tamiyo's not with us anymore, that they are still around in some form of way, and the fact that Tamiyo gets a really cool alt art, cute animal variation of it is really good. I really like that they did that in this type of deck. But now on to the creatures of this deck. In this deck there is a total of 27 creatures, which I thought would be a little bit more. I thought there'd be like 32, so again, I'm curious where they're putting the rest of the cards. But you get really cool creatures just like Loran of the Third Path, Steelbird Champion, Sunscorch Regent, Mangara the Diplomat, Realmcloak Giant, Phoenix of Enlightenment, Forgotten Ancient, Bloomburrow Apothecary, Mana Gorger Hydra, Rishka Pima Regenerate, Colonia Hydra, Fame Burrow Elder, Psychosis Crawler, Triskanade Copophilia, Octomancer, 20 Totem Toad, Body of Knowledge, Charm Skulker, Jorel Mobile Recluse, Silvara Explorer Returned, Quain Interdent Meddler. So before I go any further, I do have to say that Quain is my favorite commander. I do have a deck that is somewhat similar to this, that is a Quain deck. The whole point of the deck is I literally just get everyone to draw cards and gain life. So I have a large amount of cards, which has a large amount of ramp, which has then a large amount of stacks, but it's not stacks that's like, majority of the stacks that I put in is that just people can't attack or interact with me. I try and put as minimum stacks when it comes to people just not playing stuff, so they still get to play. I'm just kind of in my little fort pillow, and then I play something like there's a creature that if you have 40 more life you win the game, or I put in stuff like Second Son and stuff like that, or I put in Jace where if you have no cards in your library you win. So if you're interested in that, I do have a deck tech in that. I think I've upgraded the deck, so if you want to see a deck tech of that, please let me know. But other than that, the creatures in this deck are, in my opinion, slightly weird. I do find it good, they are really good, but I noticed that some of the cards are for one commander and some cards are for the other commander, and there's a slight like mix between the both, but it's clear that they are two separate card types, and I think together makes it a little weird. I think if you already just from the creatures alone are going to buy this deck, separate which commander you want and then have more hard focus on one of them instead of a mixture of both. So now let's go on to the enchantments of this deck. When it comes to this deck, there's 8 in total, but there are some like Tensier Trace, Hoofprints of the Stag, Communal Brewing, Rites of Flourishing, Simic Ascendancy, and Fisher's Talent. Again, some good ones, some good cards, a lot of well-known and good, amazing like draw and play more land type of cards. Again, I just feel the same, that it seems to be, and they're doing a really good job, and it's right if you're buying this deck that they're focusing on both equally, and I do like that. But the more I'm looking into this deck, the more I'm feeling that, again, if you are to buy this and you want to build this type of deck, hard focus on one of them. But now let's go on to the spells in this deck. There are 18 spells. That's where the majority of the cards are. And in this deck you get Purge Protection, Intellectual Offering, Illusionist Gambit, Perplexing Test, Tempt with Bunnies, Promise of Loyalty, Tempt with Discovery. For 18 spells in total, there wasn't many that I'm like, ooh, or interested in, or rares or mythics. So I did find that a bit meh. However, I do like them overall. I do think they are rather really good or perfect for the deck. There is some that I'm like, I understand why they're here, but like there's better variations or better versions or different versions that I would personally prefer. So if there's any incidents or sorceries, again, that you think would be better in this deck, that would still be good for just a precon, not if you're like upgrading it. Again, let me know. Now let's go on to the artifacts of this deck. There's 8 in total, with 6 of them being mana rocks, but only one I would like to talk about, and that is Gyraper Ori. Only having one rare that's not a mana rock is kind of weird. I do find that the creatures and the planeswalkers so far are very good for this deck. The enchantments are good, the spells are good, and now the artifacts are kind of like the weakest point of the deck. But when it comes to this, there's always the weaker point of the deck. Now, however, having a large amount of mana rocks plus the extra draw and land stuff kind of makes it somewhat good, and I understand why. But again, I always ignore mana rocks because you always get the Soul Ring and Arcane Signet, at least in all these decks. But now we're going on to the lands of this deck. In this deck, there is a total of 38 lands in total, but you get lands just like Temple of Enlightenment, Seachrome Coast, Glacial Fortress, Hinterland Harbour, Razor Verge Thicket, Flooded Grove, Canopy Vista, Prairie Stream, Temple of Mystery, Sun Petal Grove, and Temple of Plenty. Again, I do find because of like the artifacts and the spells are kind of on the weaker side, that they've upgraded the lands more than they've done in the last few years when it comes to others. I do like the lands in here. Again, this is kind of more depending on the price range of the deck is where I would be happy with what is in it. So again, I do think the lands are quite good for what you get in this deck. But again, I'm one of those people that really like good lands in a deck. So I know sometimes that can be a bit like, I would always want these in. But again, that's just me. Let me know in the comments down below if there's any lands you would prefer going in. But let's go on to the next section. So now my thoughts of the entire deck as a whole. I think the Commander and Sub-Commander are some of the best we've seen. I really do like these type of decks though, so I could be a little biased here. I'm not sure which I would like to play. However, I do find that this deck is built the way that it's trying to get both well in it, so you can use it straight off the box. However, I think if you're playing with a certain play group that's kind of like a higher level than a precon all the time, I do think you need to upgrade it there and then and focus on one of them, then both. I think the thing that makes this deck slightly weaker is the fact that the deck is trying to make both really good commanders, where it's kind of like you want one really good commander and the other one's just helping, unless you want to take it out completely and have fully hard focus on one of the commanders. The enchantments and artifacts and spells are okay. The lands are quite good, better than I originally thought. They usually do a lot less. Overall, I think I would give this deck maybe a 7.2. I do think it is, so far out of the 3 videos I've done, the best deck so far. But again, that's more it's my play style. I could see myself getting this deck if I just didn't really care about, like, I've been very only buying cards or magic product I really want. Been kind of not stepping back, but I've been like, okay, I need to spend a little less on magic stuff. So this is the deck, if I didn't really care, I would buy and probably hard focus on, I would say, the bunny more than the fox, but that's just more my playstyle. If you're interested in this deck, or you have bought this deck, or if you thought anything I said was wrong or had a different opinion, let me know in the comments down below. I love having them type of conversations. While you're down there, remember to like and follow and subscribe and all of that. But if bird bards are more your thing, or you're more into kind of a more D&D aspect of a deck, I have the previous deck here with a playlist of Magic the Gathering Is It Worth It stuff here, and a subscribe button here. And I cannot wait to finally get this Bloomburrow stuff done, because even though I've been really enjoying it, it's been a rush for me because I was away on holiday. But I will see you all in the next video.